Right, to your questions. We asked for questions on youth development and young players this evening. This to kick us off. As a youngster coming through, Thierry, what's the most important part of their development? Is it game time? Is it training?
First and foremost, it's kind of a weird one at the beginning because, so for example, if I take it to some of the players that started early at 17, sometimes you don't get the development that you should get at an early age because you were that good or you got a chance to play because some people were missing, so you got called into the first team. And suddenly, first game you score, second game you score, and you have to learn your trade while you're playing with the first team. So that's very, very difficult. But having said that, one of the most important things for me is to play. You have to play, wherever it is. If it's a reserve, you can't be on the bench sometimes sitting and not playing games, missing learning about the game, stopping that momentum. For example, for me, an example is Rashford. You know, Michael Owen had the opportunity to back up what he did the year before because he played and he played and he played and he played. I can give you other examples of other players. But Rashford couldn't almost at times capitalize on what he did from that year because sometimes he's playing on the right, sometimes he's playing on the left, sometimes he's not playing.
Do you think he has to leave?
Has to leave, I don't think he would. Has to leave is a strong word because I'm sure being from there, he wants to play, obviously, for United. But he has to play, and it's going to become even more difficult for him because Sanchez has arrived.
Do you think that Sanchez signing, it was bad news for him?
Bad news, you can take it also as you bringing someone here, I'm here. Let me show you what I can do. But more
he's not
often,
going to get the chance, though, is he?
That's what I'm saying. More often than not, he cannot do that. So I think at the end of the season, he's going to have maybe of a thinking there of, do I stay? This is the club of my life. That's where I'm from. There's a club I support and whatnot. But, or you just make it also when you show everybody that you can play with all those guys around. With the amount of minutes that you have, or sometimes playing on the right or playing on the left. So it's not an easy one sometimes at clubs, and you need also sometimes that kind of luck also in terms of development. That's how we started, and I mean I'm going a bit far, a bit.
Well, what's your advice to Rashford now then?
Yeah.
What's your advice to him?
I think for me at one point, if you're good enough, you can make it work everywhere you want. Apart from something that we don't know about, that happened behind closed doors, we don't know about. But if you're good enough, you can make it happen. Having said that, they cannot allow you to carry that momentum that you had from that first season, it can become difficult. What I'm saying to him is, you need to play. It can be also at Man United. I'm not saying that he cannot play at Man United, but it still didn't have like that chance of a run of game or carrying the momentum that he had. Especially at a young age, you play on that at times. And so that's on him to know if he's going to leave or not, but he needs to play.
What about this one? Who were the best youth players you played with at your age group who made it and who didn't, both at club and international level?
Ones who didn't make it, when you say didn't make it, there's two players that come straight to mind. Still like, you know, decent careers. One was John Curtis, who got a chance at Manchester United early on, didn't quite happen for him. I was at the national school with him. He was a year below me, so when we were together, I was his senior, he was a year below. He was in our England team, a year young. Now, you know, we all players know when you play for your country at under 16, under 15, for someone the year below to be in your England team, that says something. And we almost felt, even though we were the best players in England for our age, you're never quite sure who's still going to make it. But he was one of them and you thought, he's an absolute guarantee that he will make it. And for whatever reason, it just didn't seem to happen for him. He didn't sort of grow any bigger or change physically, really. And it was a massive surprise for me. And there was another one who did play Premier League football at QPR called Nigel Quasi. He come to our England, he wasn't at Lilleshall, but he joined the England team under 16s. And he was just running training sessions, I mean, against the best players in England. So you're thinking, wow, what a player. But as soon as it came to the game, it wasn't quite the same player. But you're looking at him thinking, he's the next sort of Paul Ince. Even on under 21 level, I think Len Hoddle had ideas of him sort of eventually taking Paul Ince's position when I was part of the under 21s myself. And again, a play, you think, why didn't it happen? And had everything technically, but must have been something mentally that he couldn't transfer that into games.
What would you say on that?
I always say 16 years old. I remember I wasn't even in the national team at that time. but other players were playing way better than me. Obviously, because I wasn't in the squad, I can't remember names. But 18, 19, you kind of more of an idea of what's going to happen next. You know, I'm not going to name my whole squad, but we all kind of made it. Like 10 players played for the national team, and I'm sure for you, when you arrive 19, 20, 21, 18, those guys made it to a national team. I mean, the players that we were talking about off air all made it for the national team, almost. And so 16 is kind of early. It's kind of early. You hear names. I heard about John Curtis, right? I heard about him. I was in France. How great he was. And it's not always that easy.
We were talking earlier as well about how you know it's the end of your career, to go from youth football to retiring. What are the signals that you get, Thierry?
When you start to go on the bench more often than not. That's a great signal, and that happened to me at Barcelona because Pedro came out and I always say, if you leave the door open and you allow a player to get in, he's going to close the door on you. And he did. And it happened to me, and I knew it was time for me to leave Europe and go to the MLS and have another challenge and see something else. And also there was a thing that I left with I was kind of happy with what I've done. Like I was like, job done. I can leave with no like, well, you know, I wish I still can play that because I didn't have the chance to compete in that or stuff like that. You know, it was like a job done. And it was just, you know it inside when it's time to go.
Do you not think you could still do it now? Maybe not for Barcelona, but for somebody else, even now?
1 second, I can come in and out. No, I don't. Listen, the game is too
You didn't
quick.
say that on the walk.
No. If you play for a team that's on the ball or might be on the ball more often than not, if you're clever enough in and around the box, you might do something. But hey, that's a dream that I have sometimes when I'm at home. But it's well and done and dusted for me.
How did you know time was up?
People always say your pace goes. I know what people say, well, you didn't have any to lose. But I always felt it was power. In terms of, I wasn't the biggest centre-back, so I relied a little bit on, or a lot really, on a decent spring, trying to get up in the air. And towards the end, or certainly the last 18 months, you jump for balls in the end, you couldn't get this. So actually, towards the end of my career, I wasn't actually jumping for headers. It might sound stupid, I was trying to be as clever as I possibly could. I'd never jump for a header off a goal kick. I'd get a midfielder in front, unless I really had to. Obviously in the box, cross comes in a set piece, but anywhere outside the box, I didn't even jump, really get involved in it. And also when you're on the ball, I'm talking about power, sometimes you're looking to play a long pass or a ball over the top. And normally the way you strike it, you think, oh, that your range, you're not reaching. You're giving it everything you've got, and it's just not getting there. You know, and you just think, nah, it's time to go.
Time to do this instead. Quick one to finish. Let's get you on this, Thierry. If they all stay fit until the end of the season, who's your pick for the Golden Boot? Because the race is fascinating for us right now. Could it be Kane? Sergio Aguero, Mo Salah, somebody else?
Listen, if you asked me that before, Sergio Aguero came up with 4 goals out of nowhere. Harry Kane can score 9 in 3 games. Mo Salah seems not stopping scoring goals. So it's going to be a hell of a race. You will if you ask me to bet now, I'll say Harry Kane. But Sergio Aguero suddenly, like I mentioned before, come up with 4. I would like Mo Salah to win it.
Why?
Just because it's a good story. It's a great story. Harry Kane also because he will win it 3 years in a row now. If he does, it will be a great story. But Mo Salah, I don't remember a player. We were talking about that off air, Jamie. I don't remember a player playing like that off his first season. People would tell me it's not his first season because he played at Chelsea before. But really, let's give him that. It's his really first season and playing in and out. It would be a great story because I think also he brings something else to the game. I like the way he plays. He goes in behind. That's a wish that I have. But Harry Kane will be there.
Well, on Salah, have we ever seen an impact like that?
No, I've said before, I think Liverpool's not greatest ever signing. We'll judge that whenever he leaves the club, but I think it must be the greatest ever start. Any Liverpool player in history, I can't think of any sign who'd made that impact straight away.